Hello friends, welcome to Tech Sadhana. Today I am going to show you 10 basic operations of SQL Server, and this is for the beginners who have just started working with SQL Server. So the first point is how to create a database. So first step for a beginner is how to create a database to start working with. So friends, after installation of SQL Server, we will have to open SQL Server in this way. Go to Start menu, then type SSMS SQL Server Management Studio. So whatever the version you have installed, the SQL Server Management Studio will be shown here in this way. I am going to click on it. SQL Server Management Studio is the tool using which we basically interact with the SQL Server database. Here you can see the screen. We can see that there is a login screen here and the server name is displayed here and Windows authentication is selected. Just keep it as it is. Now I am clicking on the connect button. So SQL Server Management Studio connected with the SQL Server database now, and here I can see the database list. I am expanding the databases option and here I can see the list of databases. Currently there is no database, and now I am going to create a database. Just right click here on the databases, then click on new database. In this wizard, you will have to put the name of the database. Like I am now putting the database name as Employee Management DB. Just keep all the things as it is for the time being, and that is all about creating a database. Now click on OK. So the employee management database is created. Now if you expand this database, you will see there are a lot of options like database diagram, tables, views. So these are the empty folders at that moment, and we will have to create our objects within that database. Another way we can create a database is by writing a query. I am clicking on new query. Here I can just write create database new DB. I am keeping the name here as new DB, and if I will click on execute, the script will be executed. Here you can see that commands completed successfully, and here in the database list you will find the new DB is created. It is not showing at that moment. I am just selecting the databases option and clicking on the refresh button here. So you can see that the new DB is showing here under the list of the databases. So another database is created. So by this way you can create a new database after installing SQL Server. Now I am moving to the next point. The next point is how to check connectivity property. Friends, if we need to connect the database with our application, then we need to put some property to connect with the SQL Server, like the server name or database name, the username, password, etc. So the database name, you will find database name is a very important property that we need to put in our connection string in order to the application connect with the database. So in order to know the database name, here the database name is showing, but in order to copy the database name, what you will have to do is you need to right click on here the database name, then you need to click on properties. Here you will find the exact database name. So you need to copy this particular database name as database name. So this is the database name or server name. This is the server name basically, not database name. This is the SQL server name. So the property server is this. Another property you need to write in your connection string is the database name. Here if we want to connect with the new DB, then we need to put new DB here. So these are the properties which are basically used to connect an application with the database. And also we need user ID and password for the database user under which account we basically want to connect with the database server. So these 4 properties basically we need in order an application to connect with the SQL Server database. So let's move to our next operations, that is number 3, how to create a table. Well, we have created a database. Now we need to create a table. I am not going to use the new DB, I am going to use the employee management DB here. So I am expanding the employee management DB. Here you can see there is an option called table. So I am expanding the table to just show you that there is no table, no custom table at that moment. Some systems tables are there, you need to ignore at that moment. So there is no custom table that we have created. So I am going to create the first table under the database employee management DB. I am just right clicking on the tables, then click here table. So this is the interface or wizard where we can put the name of column one by one to create the database table. For simplicity, I am now going to create an employee table. For simplicity, I will not keep much columns here. So I am keeping the first column as employee ID. The ID column always should be an integer. This is the data type. What type of data that column will contain, that is integer type of data. I am mentioning here. Allow nulls, no, it will not be null because employee ID is the primary key. I will explain what is primary key later on. The next column I can keep like employee name, varchar 50, not null. Employee name cannot be null. Then EMP address, again varchar 150 I will put here. Address field also should be mandatory. Now phone number I can keep it as varchar once again, but the number will not be large in size, so maximum 10 or 12 I can keep. That should also be null. Then next date of birth, DOB. Here there is a data type called date or date time. So data type I have put here, and it will also be null, or I can keep it as null, allow null. So these are the columns for that table, and now the columns are ready, and at that moment I am going to save the table here. You can see the save button. So I am clicking on the save button, and it is asking me to give a name of the table. Now I am giving a name like employee. You can keep a suffix like employee master to denote it. This is a master table. So employee table is now saved, and I am not seeing it here, but as I shown you earlier that by clicking on the refresh button, the employee master table is now showing here. So this is the employee master table that we have just created. If I expand the table, then you will see some columns options are there. Then if you expand the columns, then you will see all the columns here. And I am now closing the wizard. I am closing this window as well. Now if anytime you need to edit the table in order to add or delete any other any column, then you'll have to right click on it and then go to design. So the same wizard will open. Here you can add or delete any existing column. I am going to add another column, that is email ID, and varchar 50 is fine here as well. I am keeping it as not null. Now I will have to save it once again. Yeah, here you can see this message will come for the first time, and we'll have to configure one thing so that the message will not come in the subsequent operations. Here it is saying that saving changes is not permitted. The changes you have made require the following tables to be dropped and recreated. So this is the message. This is the first time settings. We need to set it from the tools section. I'm going to show you just. So I'm clicking on cancel at that moment. Okay. Now I will have to do one setting so that that message will not appear for the next time. From tool, go to the options. Here the designer part is there, designer options. From that part you will have to uncheck this one, prevent saving changes that require table recreation. That is the message it was coming at that moment when I was going to save the changes. So I will have to uncheck this one. Then I am clicking OK. Now I am going to save the table. Yeah, it's saved at that moment. So it is saved, and email ID, a new column has been added. I am now going to close the table, and if I refresh this one, then under columns I can see the email ID. Again I can change the table, alter the table. In the same way I can delete or add any number of columns here. So we have completed the point number 3, the operations, how to create a table. Now we will move to the next point, how to create a stored procedure. So let's see what we have created so far. We have created one database called Employee Management DB. Then we have created one table, and the name of the table is Employee Master. Now we will have to do some operation on these tables, and in order to do operations on the tables, we basically use stored procedure. So under the database there is an option called table that we have used. Now the programmability option we are going to use in order to write a stored procedure. I am expanding that option. Here you can see stored procedure. We can also write a user defined function here, and there are other options as well. So I am going to just show you how to create a stored procedure. So in the stored procedure, just right click, then click on stored procedure. So here a template is being shown. I am just deleting the garbages here. So this is basically a SQL function and it is called procedure, and it looks like this. The syntax is like that. I am just for simplicity I am just deleting all the things. I am going to write a procedure to select all the records from the table employee master. So I am going to write the procedure in this way: create procedure, then the name of the procedure I prefer to write in this way, that the table name underscore operation. Here the operation is select all, means I am trying to fetch all records from the table employee master. So this is the name of the procedure. Here I can write the list of parameters. A function takes some parameter. In this particular function there is no parameter, so I will keep that portion blank. Then there is a keyword called as, and after as there is some opening and closing option, begin and end. So between the begin and end we will have to write the body of the procedure. So this portion is basically for the definition of the procedure. I am just writing one SQL query here, like select star from employee master. Select star from employee master. That particular query itself will execute. There is no employee at that moment in the table, so it is showing no output here, but it is running. So now I will have to run the whole query here from the create to end. So this will create the procedure. At that moment you can see that there is no procedure. If I refresh here, there is no procedure written. Now I am going to execute that particular script. It is saying that command completed successfully. That means the procedure is created. Now I am going to refresh this. Yes, I can see that the procedure is created and the name of the procedure is employee master underscore select all. So this is the way to write a procedure. Now if you want to change something in the employee in the procedure, you need to go to the procedure, then right click on it, then click on modify. At the time of modify, the command is alter. At the time of creation, the command was create. Now the command is alter. So the alter procedure, then procedure name, and this is the procedure body. So I can do something here that instead of selecting all the columns, I can write here like employee ID and employee name. Then I'll click on execute. It has executed. Then I'm just closing it. That means the alter operation take place actually. Then I am right clicking on these once again, clicking on modify. You can see the modified procedure is opened. So this is the way to write or update a procedure. In a procedure, you can write any number of lines, any number of queries relevant to that particular procedures. Now I will move to the next point, that is how to run a script. So how to run a script I have already shown you. Still I will just formally show you how to run a script. So in order to run a SQL script or TSQL script, you need to open a new query window from here. Then you need to ensure which database you are using. That means to which database you are going to execute that particular script. So here if I select on new DB, then if I click on new query, a query window will open targeting the database new DB. If I select the employee management DB and click on the new query, so the target database for that particular query window is employee management DB. From here we can choose any database and change the target for that particular query window. So we are not going to use the new DB, so I am going to change the target database. Fine, that means the query I am going to write here will now target the database employee management DB. So the first query I write is select star from employee, and clicking on the execute button or F5, it will be executed. Here it is saying that invalid object name employee. Our object name was, our table name was employee master. So this is the way we basically execute one script, and this is the result window for that particular script. So that is the way we basically write a transact SQL script and execute that particular script against a particular database. Now I am moving to the next operation, and that is called how to insert or update data in a SQL table. Fine. So there are two ways to insert and update data in a SQL table. The one way is to write a script. So you basically know that how to write a script to insert a data. That is very simple query. Insert into, then table name employee master, and values let me check the column names. So employee ID, employee name, employee address, phone number, date of birth, email ID. So I am giving the employee ID 1, then employee name is ABCD, then employee address is something, and then phone number, date of birth. SQL Server takes the date format like YYYYMMDD, so 2001 31st, and the email ID So this is the query, and if I now click on the execute button, it is telling that one row is affected. That means the row has been inserted. So now I will write another query: select star from employee master. And here I am just selecting that particular query and just executing it, and it is showing that one record has been inserted. Now I am changing the data to a bit with employee number 2, and I am now going to execute the insert query. I can select both the query, so both the query will be executed in that case. First it will be inserted one data, then it will show you, then it will execute the select query and show you the result. So here is the result. We can see now 2 employees are added, and we just now executed 2 queries at a time. So this is the one way to insert a record in a database table. Now the another way is just wizard based way. You can insert in another way, like you can right click on the table name, then edit top 200 rows. So from here also you can add employee, something name, address, phone number, then so the third record is also added. Now I will again run that SQL query, and you can see that the third record is added. So by this way we can delete also a particular record from here. I am just right clicking in that row and just clicking on delete. So one row has been deleted, and if I will execute now this query, it is showing that the employee with the employee ID 2 is deleted. So this is the way we can add or insert records in a particular table from SQL Server. The update operation, from here you can also update a particular record. Like if I want to update the name of that particular employee, then add something. So it will update the employee name. The employee name is updated now. And also we can update writing a update command from here, like update employee master table, set employee name copy with header, set employee name new name where employee ID is 1. So this is the update query. I am now executing that particular query. It is executed, and now again I am selecting all from the employee master table. So new name is the name of the employee at that moment whose ID is 1. So that query executed and changed the name of the employee whose employee ID is 1. So that is the way to change or update any record using a update command or using the table itself from the wizard. So now we'll move to the next topic, that is how to backup and restore SQL database. This is the very important operation. We need to frequently do that operation in order to work in different projects. So the database we have created, now we may need to move the database from one server to another server, one person to another person, or we need to move the database from our development server to the live production server. So in order to do that, one way is taking a backup of the database and then restore it back to the destination server. So I am going to take a backup now for that database. It is very simple. Just right click on the database, then tasks, then there is option backup. Here you can see the backup path is showing like under the MS SQL. So I am clicking on add. I am just copying the path so that I can check where it is saved. This is the folder name, and I am just putting the name like empdb backup, clicking OK. So under the backup folder there will be a backup and the name of the backup file will be empdb backup. I could also keep the default one, it was also fine, but I am creating one backup file by writing the name myself. Now I am clicking on OK. So these are the options. Now I can take the backup in the default one, default file, or I can take the backup in the new backup file that I have created. I am just removing the default one and I am keeping the my one, and now I am clicking on OK. It is saying that the backup of database employee management DB completed successfully. Okay, I am now clicking OK. So let me show you the location where the backup is created. This is the backup file empdb backup. So here the backup of the database is created. So now I will try to restore the database to show you how to restore a database. I will restore the database in the new DB database. Currently the new DB database is blank. There is no objects like tables or procedures. So I will restore the backup to the new DB. In order to do that, right click on the database, then task, and then go to restore. Click on restore database. This is the wizard. So from device I need to choose the file. Actually I am now choosing the file where the database backup was taken. Here I paste the backup location. All files. So I can see the backup file here, and I will click now OK. So here is the backup media. So that I am going to restore now. So I will click on OK. So backup media is taken. Here the information are collected about the database, and here I need to choose the destination to which database I am going to restore it. So I am here mentioning that new DB is the destination database. So I am taking the backup from that backup media and restoring it to the new DB database. Now I will go to the options, and here I will check that option, override the existing database, and I will also check close the existing connection to destination database. So these two things I checked. One is to override the existing database, and one is to close all the connection of the destination database in order to smoothly take the restoration. So I will now click on the OK button to start the restore operation. It is saying that database new DB restored successfully. So let us check how the new DB is now looking after database restoration. So here is the new DB, and I will expand the table options. Let me refresh it. Yes, I can see the employee master table is here, and also I should see the procedure. Yeah, the procedure that we have written in the employee management database, it is showing here. So the backup is restored successfully as well in the new DB. So that is all about backup and restore. And now I will move to the next part, and that is part number 8, how to generate script of SQL database. Friends, we need to generate script of the SQL database in order to move the data to production, or move the database as a whole to production, or to any server, or to any person. So I will generate a script of the database employee management DB, and I will show you how to generate the script. I will have to right click on the employee management database, then task, then generate scripts. This is the wizard. I am now clicking on do not show this page again, and I am going to next. Here I need to select the object for which I am going to create the database. I can check script entire database and all database object, or I can be selective, like I can generate script for some particular objects only. So in our database only 2 objects are there, so I can check that way as well. So now I will click on next. In that screen you need to click on advanced to set some advanced setting here, like whether I need to add data with the script or not. Here by default schema only is selected. I can check like schema and data. So for both schema and data I need to generate the script. And another thing is that you can select the server version for which the script is being generated. I will keep it as it is. And that is all for the time being. And here I need to select where I am going to save the script. If I want to save the script here, then I can keep it in such a way, or I can select a different path. Most of the time I do save in new query window, so I will check this one, save in new query window. Then I will click next. So query is now being generated and it will be displayed in a query window. So it is saying that it is finished. Now I'll click on the finish button, and yes, it is now showing the whole script of the database is now showing in this query window. So you can see that this is the script for the employee master table that we have created. And this is the script for the data of that employee master table. There are some insert script for 2 records. So all the records are also there, and there is one procedure that we have created for the database. So this is the whole script that we have generated for that database. So we can copy now that script and we can now execute the script in anywhere, in any server, or we can send the script as a text file whoever require it. So that is all about how to generate a script. Now I will move to the next point number 9, how to create primary key and foreign key. So this is a very important aspect of designing a database. I am now closing that window. So foreign key and primary key, how to create. So I will go to the table that I have created. Here is the table employee master, where I am going to create one primary key. Click on design. So this employee ID is the right column to set it as primary key. In order to set it primary key, I need to right click here in that area. I'll have to right click and I just need to click on the set primary key. So it is now set as a primary key, and you can see a key is there in left side of that column. So that particular column now become the primary key of that table. Primary key is a constant. Whenever we make any field primary key, that means that field will only contain some unique record, and there will be no duplicate record. Another good aspect of making a column as a primary key is to make the index for that table. The table will be indexed with respect to this primary key, so that the retrieval operation will be more faster. So a cluster index is created based on that primary key. Now I will show how to create a foreign key. In order to create a foreign key basically define the relation between two tables. Now we have only one table, so I need to create another table. I am going to create another table to demonstrate how to create a foreign key. So I will create another table which should be related to the employee master. Here I will be creating one table called employee attendance. So let me create the column for that employee attendance table. Attendance ID, this is integer. Attendance ID is the primary key for that table, and it should be null. Now employee ID, that will also be an integer, and the date of attendance, just a date. It should also be null. Another column is present, that is a bit, whether he was present or not in that particular day. It will also be null. So this is the table, attendance table. Now I will save that table and I will give a name, employee attendance. I will make the attendance ID as primary key, and here this employee ID is the foreign key actually, and its primary key is referred to its parent table like employee master. The employee ID of employee master is the primary key for this employee ID. This is the foreign key. So I will set a relation. Using that option, I will set the relation. I am going to add a relation. Here I will have to define the relation. Here I need to select the primary key table. So primary key table is employee master, and I will have to select the foreign key table. So foreign key table is employee attendance, and for the employee master table, for the primary key table, the primary key is employee ID, which will correspond to the employee ID of the foreign key table. So this is the relation actually. Now I will click OK. So the relation is established, and I will now close this. So this will become the foreign key at this moment. I will save it. You need to click yes. Now the changes are saved. The employee attendance table, and you can see that here the attendance ID is the primary key and employee ID is showing as the foreign key, as per the relation we have established. So by this way we can create one primary key and one foreign key. Now I will move to the next part, that is how to create a database diagram. So we have created a database. So far we have two tables. Now we can create a database diagram from these options. Database diagram. You can expand your database, and there you will have the option database diagram at the first, and here you need to, here there is a message showing this database does not have one or more of the support objects required to use database diagram. Do you wish to create them? Yes. Now you will have to right click and click on the new database diagram. So you will have to choose the tables using which you want to create the diagram. Here we have only two tables, so I will select both the tables. You can create many diagrams of a single database, taking the related tables at a time. In my case, these are the related tables, and I am selecting them, and now I will go and add. Then I will click on close. So the diagram is created. You can drag it to anywhere, and from this diagram there is a primary key and foreign key relationship is showing, since these two tables have some relation. So I will keep the primary key table here and the foreign key table here, and you can move the relation. This is the relation option, this is the relationship option. You can move the relationship option like that. So I will point to the employee ID of the employee master. Here I will move the relationship to this employee ID. So this is the relationship. Employee ID of employee master is the primary key, and employee ID of the employee attendance table is the foreign key. So the diagram is created, and you can now take the printout or take a screenshot of the diagram and distribute to the concerned person. And I will recommend you to go through the video, the step by step, and execute all the steps I have mentioned here and do some hands-on so that you will be habituated with all the things. So these are the basic things about the SQL Server database. For a beginner, these things are very much required. That's all for this video. If you like this video, you can share this to your friends or relatives. I will come up with another video explaining some other features which are also important in order to work with SQL Server. Thank you very much.